Namaste. Welcome to Atharva Forum viewers. Today I'll be having a conversation with Aravindan Neelakanthan, who is well introduced to all of you regarding the Hindu movement in Tamil Nadu specifically. Namaste, Aravindan. Nice to talk to you. Yeah. As you know, Tamil Nadu has been called the land of the Vedas. Vedam Nirainda Tamil Nadu, says Bharatiyar. It is the bastion of Hindu culture, Hindu heritage, Hindu spirituality. We see that Hindu movement is struggling to grow in Tamil Nadu, right? For decades. So there are attacks from anti-Hindu forces like Dravidianists, leftists, and even Christian missionaries from all sides in Tamil Nadu on the Hindu culture and the Hindu society. And now there is this sting involving leader, which has kind of, brought out some of the issues and fissures inside the Hindu movement in Tamil Nadu. So what do you think about this?
Jiraj, the particular scandal that you referred to, it is a scandal that has happened in Tamil Nadu. Sooner or later, it would reach the rest of India by the mainstream media, and the mainstream media always projects Tamil Nadu as if it is a kind of an island. So there is basically an information gap between Tamil Nadu and rest of India, particularly North India. So the whole set of events that happen in Tamil Nadu go to North India. In a way, they will understand it through the particular framework that has been given to them. And that framework is decided by the, we can say, anti-Hindu forces that are in Tamil Nadu. So this becomes very important that we understand what actually happens in Tamil Nadu, what is the particular historical, cultural, and the political-religious context of the events that are happening in Tamil Nadu. And once we give this particular context and the framework to the larger audience in the rest of India, then they will be able to place a particular negative event that comes up in Tamil Nadu context in proper perspective, and they will be able to understand what is actually happening in terms of the dynamics of Tamil Nadu, the dynamics of the cultural warfare and the religious warfare that is happening in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu, as you rightly pointed out, has always been the land of Vedas and is the land of Dharma. Right from the Sangam literature to the modern literature, we can see this continuity. Nevertheless, we see that Tamil Nadu is portrayed usually in all India media as if it is a strange, different land. There is a kind of a communication gap, kind of an, you can say, proper information gap. Even a cultural gap has been created despite the fact that it does not exist. So what has been happening in Tamil Nadu for the last actually 200 years been a very, very concerted effort to make Tamil Nadu look as if it is a separate, different land that somehow got artificially attached to India because of the colonial rule. And this has percolated into the psyche, the political psyche of the common people. If you go and ask an ordinary tea vendor in Tamil Nadu, what do you think about a particular community? He would very clearly say that, oh, they were Aryans who came from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa passes. So this is the thing that has happened at one level. Now you go to another level. You see that the culture is extremely vibrant. The dharmic culture is vibrant. Yajnas are everywhere. If you are opening a new house, they are doing Ganapati Puja. Even if you are going to take a movie that is against Hinduism, you are putting a puja for that movie. So the Tamil culture, living culture, is saturated with the Hindu Dharma. And people are so involved, so much, so that if you go on a Protasi Saturday near a Perumal temple, you will see a very large queue. During Pradosham, you will see a large number of people going to the Shiva temple. So all this has been happening in a very vibrant way. Now we come to the next level. yes, the proselytizing forces and the colonial forces, and we can say the breaking India forces or whatever name you give, these forces have been working for the last 200 years. At the same time, the Hindu resistance to this also has been there the same way. And we can say that in South India, it is in Tamil Nadu, you find the maximum number of Balidanis who have given their everything, including their life. Their families have been destroyed. As Savarkar said, a family that dies for the nation always lives forever in eternity. Then you would have to say that such families exist in hundreds in Tamil Nadu. Despite all that, despite all these aspects, still the Dravidianism has a stranglehold in Tamil Nadu. So this is the paradox that we have to address. And everything, including the sting operation, or including the many traumatic events that happened, about which we will go later, to the Hindus in a very seasonal way in Tamil Nadu, all these are essentially the result of a disconnect between the great Balidan that the Hindu Balidanis have given to the cause of Dharma, the great Dharmic culture that is existing in Tamil Nadu, and the organizational structure that has to lead the Hindu movement. There is a disconnect. This disconnect has to be addressed. And because of this disconnect, what has happened is that the entire Hindu movement has become kind of stagnant. There is a lot of vibrancy inside, but it is stagnant. It is like as if a big rock has been placed over a very lively, strong stream of fresh water. That rock has to be removed. If you don't remove that rock, there is a strong possibility this water of life can become stagnant and putrid. And then you will have all these kind of, the symptoms. I would say that whatever that you are seeing are the symptoms. Whether it is this particular scandal or that particular scandal, that perceived scandals, the kind of stereotyping that is happening, all this, these are all symptoms. The disease is this disconnect, this deep disconnect. We have to address that. That is the point.
With all that you described, Aravindan, now we kind of see a light at the end of the tunnel. There is some very vibrant leadership at the BJP, and it actually appears that the Hindu movement at last is really taking off in Tamil Nadu. Just to cite some recent happenings, for example, the Hindu hatred of Dravidianist forces and others, it has been a recurring thing in Tamil Nadu. But of late, these things are getting exposed in a powerful manner, perhaps mostly due to the arrival of social media. So just to cite some recent examples, the Kandar Sashti Kavasam controversy and the Andal controversy. So this kind of Hindu hatred was happening even before, but this time it just didn't go away. In fact, there was big resistance from the Hindu side, and the mainstream media was kind of forced to cover this and to give it visibility. So this is something which is an indicator that the Hindu movement is actually taking off in Tamil Nadu. And obviously the Breaking India forces that are operating here don't like it. So do you really think, in this sting operation specifically and similar such acts, is there a conspiracy? Is there a well-defined, well-planned, strategically positioned conspiracy to really arrest and scuttle the growth of Hindu movement in Tamil Nadu?
Oh, this is very interesting and very disturbing, because if you go through the history of Hindu movement in Tamil Nadu, we always find two phases. One is that it gains momentum suddenly and it blossoms into almost a mainstream movement. And we think that at last we have arrived at that critical mass when the Hindu movement is going to take over. Then something happens and that momentum is lost for the Hindu movement. This has been happening again and again. If you remember, in 1980s, when we were growing up, the Hindu movement was growing like anything. There was this, for the first time in Tamil Nadu, we were talking about creating a consolidated Hindu vote bank. And we even got an MLA in Tamil Nadu elected, not based on any political party, but based on only his Hinduness, nothing else. Only his Hinduness. He was elected. And then what happened? The entire momentum was lost. Then again in 1990s, the momentum started. And it peaked in 1998 along with the Coimbatore bomb blasts. And after that, by 2004, it has dissipated completely. And then what happened? The arrest of Kanchi Acharya, which gave a tremendous psychological blow to the entire Hindu movement in Tamil Nadu. It was, in a way, a very crucial point, a traumatic point for the Hindu psyche in Tamil Nadu. And we were kind of recovering, and by 2014, again, a strong movement started. But in between, you had another one scandal by one Hindu neo sannyasi. And then again, you had the Hindu movement starting again, along with the 2014 wave. It reached a crescendo. At that time, in between, a lot of Hindu activists were getting killed in a very, very systematic manner. If you look at the whole thing very carefully, you will find that those Hindu activists who were active at ground zero, who were working with the people, they were getting killed. The top leader was not touched much. But at the ground level, they were completely eliminating the active Hindu activists. So that was happening. Then in 2014, after 2014, the so-called Marina Rebellion happened, which was very carefully changed into anti-Hindu movement. Now, you know what is the Marina movement about? The Marina movement is about a false propaganda. The whole thing was a false propaganda. Think about it. An entire mass movement was created based on a false propaganda. The false propaganda was that the Modi government had banned Jallikattu. Actually, the Jallikattu was banned by the previous UPA government, in which DMK was part of. Yet, this blame was shifted to Modi government. How this happened? It happened through the social media. The same social media that was used by the Hindu movement to democratize the process of mass communication was converted into a weapon of hatred in a very planned way by the Breaking India forces. Now, when we talk about conspiracy, these things don't need actually conspiracy at all. You create a kind of a particular template structures. You propagate those template structures through academia, media, and polity. You start doing that, it doesn't have to reach each and every person. It attains a critical mass, then it will start having its own effect. A kind of a, one can say, a stochastic movement that completely takes its own life. And then whatever information comes, the mass psyche would assimilate it in the way that has been intended at the beginning. So this is not conspiracy. This is something bigger than conspiracy. This is something more dangerous than conspiracy. Now, my North Indian friends, they have to understand this very clearly. Don't think that this is happening in Tamil Nadu. This is a phenomenon that is only restricted to Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is being made into an experimental laboratory of Breaking India forces. Whatever is being tested here successfully will get replicated in your place sooner or later. So, if you have here one particular point of time, they were projecting Rama as the Aryan villain and Ravana as the Dravidian hero. Sooner or later in JNU, you will have Durga as the Aryan seductress and Mahishasura as the native hero, the tribal hero. So what is happening in Tamil Nadu is getting replicated. This is the most important thing. coming back to the scandals that are happening, if you look at things, the way the things are happening in Tamil Nadu, these are happening at a very regular interval. Events that could traumatize Hindus. It may be or may not be the fault of the Hindu leadership. Like in the case of Jayendra Saraswati, it was not fault of the Hindu leadership. It was the failure of the entire Hindu movement protecting him. Whereas in the case of certain other things, the fault was in the part of the Hindu leadership that failed. And this Hindu leadership has to remember one thing. They are where they are because of the balidans of countless number of people whose families are destroyed today. They are sitting in power because of the sacrifice of these people. If they remember that, then they will understand that the cause is greater than their weaknesses. They cannot sacrifice the cause for the sake of their weakness. If you are having weakness that much, move away from the movement. Go to the sidelines. Don't be in the movement. Don't create another traumatic moment for us. Because every traumatic moment that is being created for the Hindu society in Tamil Nadu is getting added as a chapter in the scheme of breaking India things. So you have to be very careful about this. Hence, the answer to your question is there is no conspiracy. What is right now happening in Tamil Nadu is very huge than a conspiracy and more dangerous than a conspiracy.
You really, mentioned about the multi-pronged attack. I think it's perhaps deserves to be called as assault rather than just conspiracy. And I think it is at two levels. So you spoke about, at the narrative level. So defaming Hindu symbols, the usual Dravidianist separatist propaganda that has been happening in Tamil Nadu for a long time. And then there is this Tamil culture versus Hindu culture artificial conflict that is getting propagated. So all these are at the narrative or ideological level. And I think we have a good understanding of that. The other kind of attack, so that is more like a below the belt attack. So it is, for example, targeting some specific individuals who are very active in the Hindu movement, both in the physical world as well as in the digital world. So caricaturing them, harassing them, or doing character assassinations of some prominent Hindu voices, or terrorizing people in the social media. We have a lot of examples for all kind of things, right? And making, plotting and executing an action in which the Hindu voices will kind of slowly disappear from the social media sphere out of fear. I mean, particularly, women who are more vulnerable to these kind of attacks. So how do we tackle these kind of below the belt attacks, though they are kind of happening at the national level as well, but at least there is some visibility. But in Tamil Nadu, such Hindu voices are attacked in a very brutal manner, but it's not even known outside. So how do we tackle such attacks?
Jatayu, partly the problem is with us also. Dr. Conrad Elst once said that the anti-Hindu side has the capability to transform a rumor, a baseless rumor, into a kind of factoid. Whereas the Hindu side, even the hard facts, it would allow those hard facts to vaporize into rumors. Then at one particular point of time, the facts would be forgotten and the falsehoods will become facts. So this has been happening in Tamil Nadu, and we both have been at the proverbial eye of the storm. Remember, when the blog, those things started, we both entered into the, and what we saw actually shocked us.
Right.
And nobody has made a study of what happened at that time.
Yeah.
So Now,
So
for the
you
sake
you
of
are talking, yeah, you are mentioning about the events during 2006-7,
yes,
during
exactly.
from the Tamil
During
blog spheres, right? There
yeah,
were
yes,
activities that were happening that can be called criminal
yes,
in a
it
sense.
was criminal, it was perverted. And remember, it happened with UPA at the center and DMK at the state. So it was this that prompted those people. They openly said that to us also, right? They said that, yeah, we could do this because you see, they used, it is actually a web of all the things that we talked about so far. When they started attacking, they would point out something. Even the Kanchi Acharya could be arrested. So what about you people? You people could be just finished off in matter of things. That is what they used to say. Now, the important point is this. This was a well planned, well executed attack. And that attack was perverted. The attack was pointed particularly towards the family members, from children to women, of the Hindu bloggers. And no sociological study of this has been happening, because this was perhaps the first systematic, ideologically targeted, perverted attack on Hindus. It was a proxy war, but nobody studied this, despite the fact that the authorities in the cyber cell, they know about it. So for the sake of my North Indian audience, I would say this. During 2006, around 2006 to 2008, or what happened was, a particular group of Dravidianist bloggers, they created a kind of a small secret group. Then they would create false names, false mail IDs, false blogs, similar to the blogs written by prominent Hindu bloggers. At that time, blogs were very famous. These blogs, created looking very similar to the Hindu bloggers, would contain very obscene things about their own family members. This actually went to the extent of traumatizing a lot of families. They just moved away from the entire social media, even as the so-called social media was at that time just coming about. So this event happened, and later the people who were within this particular group, they themselves fought among them. Because of that, it came out, and the authorities know about it. Authorities knew about it, but no action was taken, or whatever action was taken was very minor. Now, if you look at the entire global phenomenon that wants to defame the Hindu movement, like the global conference that is happening right now,
Right.
they project as if the Hindu movement people always talk ill of women and all that.
Right.
Now, if you look at it very carefully, the anonymity that is given by the social media, internet, etc., a few stray people do that. Then using those few stray people's statements, they essentialize the entire movement. But on the other hand, you have here in the Dravidianist movement a well-planned attack, ideologically oriented attack, and they justified everything. They justified defaming a woman by their idea of social justice. So here what you have is a very excellent example of organized institutional hate propaganda happening through social media. But it was never studied. Nobody studied it. Whereas every stray tweet by a anonymous Hindu handle, or a handle pretending to be Hindu, that would be studied by the leading universities. And it would be used to essentialize the entire Hindu movement. So this has been happening, and we lost on a very important data set with respect to this. At least now, for the first time, I think we are bringing it out. And we have got multiple death threats. We just thought, okay, these are just cyber threat, death threats, cyber bullies. We don't have to worry about them. At the same time, when Hindu Facebook person, when he puts even a comment in a Dravidianist person's status, police takes action. He is arrested.
Right.
So this kind of asymmetries also exist. So if you look at the whole thing, everything is made in such a way that you get traumatized just because you speak for the Hindu voice. So
True.
we think that here is an alternative movement. Here is an alternative media, which is more democratic. You come there and you get bullied.
Hmm.
And then only those voices come to the mainstream media. So this is the kind of scheme that they have created, that they have tested it in Tamil Nadu. They are going to test it everywhere else. So this is something that we have to again understand.
Right. Yeah. So you spoke about this academia, polity, and media in Tamil Nadu, right? So all of them are, in a sense, infested with this phenomenon that we are just talking about. So the next question is really, how do we apply a course correction in this? So how do we utilize, leverage, and synergize these Hindu dharmic forces in Tamil Nadu in this all-out battle that has been happening?
We can actually take a leaf out of what happened just before in fighting these forces. For example, you take the film industry. So if you look at the film industry, the starting point, we have the first advantage. All the movies that came were essentially Quranic movies, dharmic movies. Then there is a shift. Then the anti-Hindu forces, the Dravidianist forces, they try to enter it. Like in the case of Parasakti. Look at the entire ploy. They gave the name Parasakti to a movie that is blatantly anti-Hindu.
Right.
And then they justified it by quoting certain Siddha lines. Right? But if you look at the whole thing very carefully, you will find that there was a retaliation from our side. Devar movies came. The famous Gopalakrishnan, he made a series of movies which aimed very rightly at the atheist propaganda. Perhaps we have to study his movies very carefully. He would take an atheist, a well-known atheist Dravidianist propagandist, and he would put that atheist or the propagandist in the place of Hiranyakasipu.
Right.
And he would be made to tell the dialogues. So the name of that particular atheist actor was M.R. Ratha. Now his son is in BJP. That is a different thing. But this M.R. Ratha, he just cherished talking atheist dialogues. So this Gopalakrishnan director, what he did, he took a movie called Dasavataram. And Dasavataram itself was an answer to 10 Commandments. If you remember, when 10 Commandments came, almost all the schools in Tamil Nadu, all the Christian schools in Tamil Nadu, the students were taken to the movie theater to make them see the movie. And it would be a transformational experience for these impressionable kids, 7 years, 10 years, like.
Right.
So this movie came at that time. Gopalakrishnan's movie came, Dasavataram, which showed the same grandeur, not that quality, but still, for the viewers, it was really great. In that movie, he made this. What he did, he made this M.R. Radha, who was an atheist, to tell all his atheist propaganda lines. Then he made Prahalada answer those propaganda lines. Now, for the audience, it would look like, okay, here is the great icon of atheism talking, and here is a small child countering all his questions. So this kind of what you can say, kind of bringing a magical realism into the society and countering the propaganda. It was a fantastic idea that what he did. Now, if you look back, if you look at the current scenario, you would see that the entire film industry has been taken over by the anti-Hindu forces. That's not even the space. In 1980s, there was equal space. We were fighting. And we were having a winning hand. People accepted that. But now you look back, you find that that particular space is completely gone within the matter of last 10 years. Last 10 years with the UP at the center. This is an important thing that we have to understand. The political leadership at the center, it also plays a very crucial role in deciding these things, like in the case of film industry. So right now, at last, a movie comes that openly talks about conversion, Rudra Tandavam by Moganji. At last, and notice this, here is a movie that talks about the Jati problems and also the conversion problem, and it has come from Tamil Nadu. Right? So this is when you talk about the light at the end of the tunnel, it is not only that you have got a radiant new leader, but also a lot of things are coming together.
True.
But again, we have to be careful. We have to take the flag forward. And if the entire Hindu society again loses this movement, then you will have to wait for another traumatic event. And then again, you have to reorganize the whole thing. But as you rightly said, a momentum has been created. We have to take the leaf from our previous generation, what all the right things they did. And one of those right things, I would point out, happened in our district, as you are well aware of it. The Hindu Vidyapeeth,
right,
which was founded by Madhuranandaji Maharaj.
Right.
So what they did, very similar to the Bible schools.
Right.
Every Sunday, they would conduct Hindu religious education to the children. Now, that happened for more than a quarter of a century.
Right.
In fact, if I am right, it started with the Tanlinganada. Even Tanlinganada started his own way of doing this. So it should be like half a century this movement has been going very calmly, very silently, not attracting any attention, but it has transformed the entire district. Today, in this particular district, despite the fact that there is a dominance of proselytizing religions, nobody would dare to insult Hinduism. That would mean definite defeat. See, that kind of organization has come not because of the political people working. True. It is because of the dharmic substratum has been made fertile. You have to make the dharmic substratum fertile in each and every district. So that is another one work that you have to take at another level, at the film level. So at the political level, all these are now coming together. I hope it will be taken forward. Every scandal or every challenge, every crisis will lead to a proper solution at another level. I hope that happens in this case also.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Aravindan. I think that's a very positive lesson and perspective on looking at even the crisis situation and what do we learn from it. Yeah. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you, Atharva Forum, for hosting both of us. Shubharatri.
Thank you, Jatayu. Thank you, Atharva Forum.